The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Missouri, Ms. Wagner, Chairman of the Oversight and Investigations Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Yellen, thank you for joining us today. I, too, noticed yesterday before the Senate Banking Committee that you agreed with the core principles that were part of President Trump's executive order calling for a review of the U.S. financial regulatory framework, and I thank you for that. I hope that you will work with newly confirmed Treasury Secretary Mnuchin on identifying some of the regulations on the books that conflict with these principles. We've had a robust discussion about regulations. This EO, this executive order, requires you to consult with Treasury. What are you doing specifically, Chair Yellen, to identify the regs that inhibit these core principles?
Well, we look forward to working with the Treasury Secretary on this project, and we'll cooperate fully once it's underway. I think he's only been in office for a day. The process is not yet established, but we look forward to participating in it.
We look forward to hearing about that process as it goes forward and how you'll be participating and coordinating with him. As you know, President Trump has signed a few other additional executive orders relating to regulations, most notably an executive order issuing a regulatory freeze and an order repealing 2 regulations for each new regulation proposed. I understand that the Federal Reserve, as an independent agency, is exempt from these executive orders. However, Chair Yellen, do you plan on volunteering to comply in any capacity with these orders?
Well, in the past, when there have been similar freezes put in place, the Fed has, when it's had a rulemaking that's been well telegraphed, underway for a long time, it's continued with the regulatory process. And I would expect that there is nothing that we have put in place recently that was not well understood already, or most of what we would be looking at would be notices of proposed rulemaking where there would be plenty of opportunity for comment by those who might be appointed to our board, members of Congress and others.
I thank you for that. I hope that you'll be willing to voluntarily comply with these orders as you go forward when it comes to any additional rule letting. As you know, and has been discussed in this hearing, and to that point, the position of the Fed Vice Chair for Supervision has remained vacant since the passage of Dodd-Frank, and I hope that our President will be nominating a capable person to fill that position. Since Governor Tarullo who has been performing many of the regulatory coordination functions of that role, in the meantime, he indicated that he's going to be resigning in April. What remaining regulatory agenda items, since we are discussing that, are being planned until he leaves?
We have a relatively light schedule. We do have one possible rulemaking.
And what is that, ma'am?
Don't know what the timetable would be. Pertains to our stress tests and what's called a stress capital buffer that came out of our 5-year review. I don't know just what the timetable is. Okay. It's been in the works a long time, and I think the financial community is aware.
Do you think that there's some benefit, ma'am, that in waiting until we're able to nominate and confirm a vice chair for supervision to weigh in before pressing on with further regulatory initiatives?
If we were to come out with it, it would be a notice of proposed rulemaking, and a new vice chair for supervision would certainly have a chance, along with others, to weigh in on that.
Thank you, Chair Yellen. In my limited time, I applaud the Federal Reserve for recently providing some limited relief to financial institutions from the qualitative, I'll say, portions of stress tests, our CCAR. As you know, the GAO issued a report late last year with several criticisms and recommendations regarding the stress testing process, particularly in regards to transparency. What are the Fed's plans for considering and implementing the GAO's recommendations, ma'am?
We certainly value and accept those recommendations and intend to implement them in our.
Thank you. Does the Fed have any plans on doing a more comprehensive review of how it conducts stress tests?
Well, we're completing a 5-year review that is comprehensive, and those changes that you mentioned that relieve burden for a large number of medium or larger size banking organizations, that is one of the outcomes of that.
I thank you, Chair Yellen. I yield
Time.
back my time.